Someone You Loved by Louis Capaldi is the worst number one single of the decade. I will not be taking questions at this time.
I'm going on during this time, I feel there's no one to say.
I don't know. I'm looking through this list of number one hits in the 2010s, and I'm just not seeing anything that comes anywhere close to being as immediately and unmistakably bad as Someone You Loved. Closest thing I can find is Taylor Swift's Look What You Made Me Do. But as horrible and misguided as that was, I respect that Taylor took a big swing at it, you know? It was a gutsy move, even if the results were pretty tragic. So yeah, Someone You Loved has no competition. Oh, wait, right at the end of the list there. Yeah, that might do it. At the very least, it's close enough to keep it down to the wire. I'll have to think on that one. Or maybe something worse will come along in the last month of the decade. Can't even imagine. But yeah, this song is totally worthless. On the advice of my therapist, I've been trying to dial back the whole cranky critic thing. Gotta be grumpy all the time, but oh boy, this is gonna be an old school shouty, angry review. Cause no, this song honestly does put me in a real bad mood. It comes on and I just honk more at other cars in traffic. I don't tip as well. My personal flaws are your fault, Louis Capaldi. Look what you did. You know, maybe Ed Sheeran is too easy to target, but I kind of want to blame him for this. Like, you know how I claimed in that last Sheeran review that he just doesn't have the hype factor of a real pop star? Yeah, that apparently is not true in the UK, where Sheeran is by far the biggest name in music. So much so that he actually got Eminem's River to number one. Clearly, Sheeran is a real cult of personality there, in the same way as Taylor Swift or BTS. I mean, he must be if he got that piece of shit to the top of the charts. And while he is a megastar, he is only the most famous of a full-on singer-songwriter mania in the UK. The island of Britain is just awash in white dudes playing acoustic songs, some of whom are the biggest stars in the damn country. A lot of it has crossed over to America also, but we've only really gotten a taste. Sheeran's the only cross-Atlantic superstar, or at least he was until the waning days of 2019.
If you've turned the radio on in the last 6 months, you've heard our next guest song. It's been streamed over 1 billion times. Please welcome Louis Capaldi.
This is Louis Capaldi, newly famous Scottish singer, distant relative of former Doctor Who star Peter Capaldi, who starred in the original video. Yeah, this is the original video. They ended up shooting a different video later because no one over here knows who this is. A bunch of nerds just popped up like, I know him, yeah, you guys don't count.
I'm going on during this time, I feel
It's easy to call Louis Capaldi a Sheeran wannabe. He's another singer-songwriter Brit. He's got the same moon face and wild, unkempt hair. Drop some red paint on his head, you wouldn't know the difference. But he seems to have leapfrogged all of his peers to become the one person who might actually rival Sheeran someday in terms of star power. And I get it, he stands out from the pack. He is unique among his generation of singer-songwriters, in that he's both a terrible singer and a terrible songwriter. Like, usually you gotta be good at least one. A lot of the most revered artists in rock history were pretty limited vocalists, but their songs were just that good. And while I'm not super impressed with the lyrical skills of these new balladeers, I do respect that most of them have these beautiful, supple voices. The first thing I noticed about Capaldi is that his singing is just the absolute worst.
now the day bleeds into nightfall.
I have no idea how anyone stands it. This is what I'm hearing.
I like the way you help me escape. Now the day bleeds into nightfall, and you're not here to get me through it all. Oh my God.
Capaldi's not just a bad singer, he's the worst kind of bad singer. The kind that doesn't know he's bad.
And
It's the singing you get from the guy at karaoke who accidentally picked a song out of his range, but he's gonna power through it anyway. Maybe I'm in the minority here, because legions of fans apparently love the throaty scream of this wailing baby man. To a lot of people, I guess this is the most romantic sound in the world. You know, we don't talk a lot about folk singers as singers, but it actually matters quite a bit. There was a viral video many years ago where a guy wrote a love song about Mario Kart. It was a joke, but honestly, it kind of moved me anyway because he had that perfect delivery.
When we slide together, we generate sparks in our wheels and our hearts.
He'd be a much better star than Capaldi. For that matter, I don't know how many of you saw Yesterday, the movie from this summer where everyone magically forgets the Beatles except one guy and he gets big singing their songs. There's a part in there where Ed Sheeran plays himself and he challenges the guy to a song contest, and the main character wins because, you know, he's singing the Beatles, but I didn't buy it at all because Sheeran was clearly blowing him out of the water just by being a much better performer than this useless schlub. You gotta work with the instrument you have. You don't have to be a great vocalist, you just know how to make it work, and Capaldi clearly doesn't. Or maybe he does know his own limits, because every live performance I can find, he pitches this song about 4 steps deeper.
I need somebody to heal, somebody to know.
So maybe it's not his fault, maybe his producer forced him to go higher in the studio to try and enhance the emotion. Because I've heard of producers doing that, like Def Leppard, Marvin Gaye. Well, Capaldi isn't Marvin Gaye. Maybe let him stay in his comfort zone. But fine, whatever. It's not his beautiful, buttery voice that made him famous, it's his skill as a songwriter, as a lyricist and composer. So why don't we check out the song's composition first? So structurally, this is a fairly stark and bare production with
This all and nothing really got away, you're driving me crazy.
Okay, I can't focus on anything else. This is a pop song chord song. It's all I hear. Like, I've made a running gag about how this is the most overused chord pattern in pop. I hope those jokes are funny to you, but if you know anything about musical theory, it is so obvious. Pointing it out is like saying, have you noticed that writers use the word the a lot? I'm not even the first person to joke about it. The comedy troupe Axis of Awesome has a pretty famous bit about it. I even use the same song they did to illustrate it, Don't Stop Believing, because it's the most basic demonstration of those 4 chords. Simple rhythm, no frills. And it's overused for a reason. It's a good, sturdy foundation for a song. But it's just a foundation. With something that basic, you gotta do stuff with it. Like, say, interesting guitar textures, a nice smashing synth riff, or just mess with the pattern a little. There's a billion variations on it. Most of what we call 4-chord songs use a bunch of other chords, including Don't Stop Believin', which gets a decent bit more complex after the opening measures. But that is not true for Someone You Loved. No 6ths or 7ths here. Same up down rhythm as Don't Stop Believin', almost in the same key even. The only thing it doesn't have is that awesome Journey bass line, because that would be too complicated. This is literally more basic than nothing. Using no chords would, well, obviously it would be different and unexpected. You don't hear a lot of solo a cappella songs. But this is, on a sheer composition level, it's just the plain oatmeal of music. It's like starting an essay, what is blank? Well, Webster's defines blank as blah, blah, blah. It just shouldn't happen. And I can hear people saying, well, you know, it's okay, it's because it's a piano ballad. Sometimes minimal production works to enhance the lyrics. This is basically just a rehash of Someone Like You by Adele. I mean, isn't it? It's the same song. And to that I say, how dare you? Let me be perfectly clear about this. These 2 sparely orchestrated piano ballads by British songwriters about sad breakups with titles that are literally just 3 letters apart have absolutely nothing in common, and screw you for the comparison. For one thing, it's galling to compare one of pop's best vocalists with its worst, but more importantly, Someone Like You by Adele is a modern classic because of its emotional complexity. There is a lot going on in it. Like, the verses are very earnest and pleading, and then you get to the title line.
Never mind, I'll find someone like you.
And it's this giant emotional swerve from desperation into bitter, hurt sarcasm.
Forget me, I beg.
And then it veers back into earnestness and resignation. It's a very complicated thing that justifies the bare bones structure. There's so much going on in the lyrics that you don't want to distract from it. There is no such winding arc in Someone You Loved. That shit is a straight line. It's just, I'm sad, I'm sad, I'm sad, I'm sad, I'm sad. Also, the lyrics themselves are very bad. Like, you dial the music back when you want to emphasize the words. These are not words you want to let stand on their own.
I'm going under, and this time I feel there's no one to save me. I tend to close my eyes when it hurts. Sometimes I'm on guard down, and then you pull the rug.
This is not beautiful, heart-rending poetry. This is dialogue from Attack of the Clones.
I'm in agony. The closer I get to you, the worse it gets. The thought of not being with you, I can't breathe.
Actually, I think Anakin is doing better than Capaldi.
This all and nothing way of loving, go be sleeping without you.
Yeah, Lewis, that is generally how breakups work. Like, what does that even mean? What does all or nothing mean in context of that line?
Now the day bleeds into nightfall, and you're not here to get me through it all.
Yes, I get that nights can be the most difficult part of the breakup. The loneliness, the empty space on the bed, the intrusive thoughts about how you're gonna die alone and that YouTube is not a real career and your parents were right and you should have majored in business. But he just says, the day becomes night. And in the next line, he refers to the night as it all. It sounds like the night itself is all the problem. I think this motherfucker's just scared of the dark. He needs her back so she can check under his bed for monsters. And while the lyrics are individually bad on their own, the delivery makes them so much worse. There is one kinda clever rhetorical trick with the line and the title in it. Why does he miss her so much?
I was getting kinda used to being someone you loved.
He was getting kind of used to being someone she loved. It was part of his daily routine. The technique he's using here is understatement. He's trying to say everything by saying as little as possible. You know, I've grown accustomed to her face. But here's the thing. The way you make understatement work is by understating it. You just let it sit there in devastating silence. You don't scream it at the top of your lungs. I was getting used to you is not something you wail in agony like you just nailed your penis to your leg, you fucking hack. But more than anything, I just don't like the attitude. I guess we've stopped using emo as an insult, but I can't think of a better word for it. It's really whiny in a narcissistic kind of way.
I guess I kinda like the way you numbed all the pain.
Not a single word about who this girl is, or what he misses about her, or why she left him. It's nothing but me, 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 me. There's no even sense of like a relationship between two people. It's just you hurt me.
And then you pulled the rug.
My feelings, I can't make it, I'm drowning, blah blah blah. I guess a lot of breakup songs are like that, but they at least try to hide it with poetic imagery and stuff like that. Capaldi's writing is so basic, it's like he wants you to know what a self-absorbed ass he is. So yeah, this song just fucking sucks all around. I have no idea how he got to the top of the charts. His music is bad, his lyrics are bad, his singing is bad, and he's clearly not popular from his raw sex appeal, which leaves only one thing. His skill at writing melodies.
Oh, I need somebody to know, somebody to hear, somebody to have, just to know how it feels.
You know, I will admit, that is a pretty catchy melody. I mean, I knew that already because it's the melody from Numa Numa. So there we have the appeal of this song. It reminds people of Numa Numa. I finally get the appeal. And one last thing I wanted to add. Every review I've read of Capaldi talks about what a funny and charming guy he is, like in interviews and on social media and so on. Okay. Honestly, it just makes me feel like Alec Baldwin and Glenn Ross. Likeable guy. Fuck you. Fun on Twitter. Go get retweets from your followers. Coffee is for the talented. And right now he's in a feud with Noel Gallagher, and boy, doesn't that just say it all. Of course they don't like each other. Noel Gallagher is this polar opposite. He's a charmless asshole who still made more great music in 2 years than Capaldi will in his entire life. Like, I'm sure Capaldi is more fun at parties, and he'll be a great judge on season 10 of The Masked Singer someday, but I know which of them deserves to be famous. I just don't see the point of this guy. I don't even think Peter Capaldi likes his music. He said so right to his face.
I've come across a lot of psychos, but none as fucking boring as you. I mean, you are a real boring fuck.
Damn straight, Pete.
Someone you loved.
Nobody likes me